أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين، صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة، يا مظلوم يا غريب يا شهيد كربلاء، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. A second for the love of Imams al-Hassan wal-Hussain. A third salawat for the love of Fatima al-Zahra with your loudest voices. Today, millions of the followers of Ahlul Bayt gathered to mourn the saddest event that took place in history. Today, the followers of Ahlul Bayt, they gathered from everywhere, all across the world. You will not find a city on the face of this planet that was not mourning Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Give me a name of a city that the name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam was not mentioned in. I will assure you that there's no such a thing. That in every city today there were mourners. There were today people beating their chests, shedding their tears, showing the deep sadness, this burning flame, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam describes it. He says, إِنَّ لِقَتْلِ وَلَدِيَ الْحُسَيْنِ حَرَارَةً فِي قُلُوبِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ لَن تَبْرَدُ أَبَدًا. In the heart of the believers, there's a burning flame. Today, we're all feeling that burning flame. And tonight as well, we're feeling that burning flame of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. In fact, the night of the 11th of Muharram, Shab Ghariban, tonight is even more sad than the day of Ashura. It's sadder. Tonight is the saddest night throughout the entire year. Imagine Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam is left all alone with women and children, and she has no one to help her, no one to be with her. My dear brothers and sisters, before we conclude with the musibah of Sham Ghariban tonight, I'd like to tell everyone that there is no honor in this life greater than the honor of serving Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This is the greatest honor that a person can have, to be a servant of Imam Hussein. Whether you sit on this minbar and you give us a lecture and you make people cry, or you recite a noha, or you serve people in the majlis of Abu Abdullah, you serve them food, you serve them water, you serve them tea, or you pay money to uphold a place like this. Any sort of service for Imam Hussein, this is the greatest form of service. This is the greatest honor. This is the greatest honor that a person can have. I remember a couple of years ago, one of my father's friends came and visited him. A scholar and a speaker as well. He sits on the minbar and he serves Imam Hussein alayhi salam. I remember he said a sentence that I will never forget, and he said it in Farsi, and I will tell it to you in Farsi. He was telling my father regarding the honor of serving Imam Hussein. This is great honor. He said in Farsi, he said, Yek ja nokar shudim, hame ja agha shudim. One place we became servants, we served one man, but everywhere else we became kings. This only happens to the servants of Imam Hussein. Look in our history. Those whom history remembers, those whom history honors, those whom people honor, are whom? Government officials, or the wealthy people, those who live in the largest homes and mansions, or those who serve Imam Hussein alayhi salam, even if they live in the smallest apartments. This is the greatest honor. Let's keep this honor. Let's teach it to our children and our grandchildren, and pass it on from one generation to the next. We should be grateful for our parents. None of us would be in the majalis of Abu Abdullah if it wasn't for my father and your father and your father and your mother and my mother and everyone else's mother. Because our parents, they brought us to these majalis since we were children. We grew up with the love of Imam Hussein. It's in our blood. The oxygen that we breathe has the love of Imam Hussein in it. That is why you see during Azadari, during Sinazani, you will see professionals, respectable people in the community, they'll hold a zanjir and they'll hit themselves. Because the burning flame that we have for Imam Hussein, the most honorable doctor in the city, will come and stand and be a servant of Imam Hussein. And that is the greatest honor. That is the greatest honor. Some people on the day of Ashura, they feel that no matter what they do for Imam Hussein, it's not enough. Don't blame them. Don't blame such people. Some people, they beat their chest. It's not enough. They're not putting this burning fire. They're not turning it off. They hit themselves. They cry. Some strike their heads with swords. Some walk on fire. Some hit themselves with zanjir that has chains in it. Yet the burning flame is there. Nothing is putting it off. Just like Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when he saw his son Ali al-Akbar, he had that burning flame. What could he do to turn it off? He sat down next to him, it didn't turn off. He hugged his son, his heart was still on fire. He put his cheeks on the cheeks of his son Ali al-Akbar, yet his heart was still on fire. Something happens to us on the day of Ashura. It's inexplainable. It's unexplainable. Try to explain it to anyone. And they ask us why. Why do you hit yourselves? Why do you beat yourselves? We tell them, you're right. Because you don't have that burning flame in your heart. Rasulullah said, إِنَّ فِي قُلُوبِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِنَّ حب الحسين أو لمقتل الحسين حرارة في قلوب المؤمنين. Only the believers have this burning flame, not everyone else. So when others ridicule us, they make fun of us. Why do you do this? Why do you beat yourselves? We can't blame them, because they don't have the burning flame in their hearts. Even though today, not just the followers of Ahlul Bayt were mourning Imam Hussein. There are some that do not follow the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt. They participated. They participated. In America, in Canada, in Australia, in India, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Iraq. In Iraq, not just our Sunni brothers, Christians come to Karbala on the day of Ashura. Even Christians. Even Hindus in India, Hindus come and participate in the morning rituals of Imam Hussein. I say subhanallah. Christians and Jews. I saw a Jewish man on Twitter. A Jewish man. A Jewish rabbi speaking about Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Then he says, I admire those who mourn Hussein after 1,400 years. A Jewish man. I say subhanallah, Christians and Jews and Hindus and God knows who else, they mourn Imam Hussein, but Muslims did not know the value of Imam Hussein. Muslims did not value Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Those who saw Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi hold Imam Hussein, kiss him on his neck, kiss him on his lips, kiss him on his cheeks. He would play with Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He would leave his companions and go and attend to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He was showing them so that 50 years later they do not forget, but they forgot. Ubay ibn Ka'b says that one day we were in the masjid of Rasulullah with Rasulullah. Hussein was 3 years old. He came inside the masjid. Rasulullah stood up for him. He stood up for a child. And then he said, Ahlan bika ya Aba Abdullah. Imam Hussein is only 3 years old. Yet Imam Rasulullah calls him Aba Abdullah. Ahlan bika ya Aba Abdullah. Ahlan bika ya zinat as-samawati wal-aradeen. Welcome, O Aba Abdullah. Welcome, O ornament, O light of this earth and of this universe, of the skies. Ubay ibn Ka'b says, I asked Rasulullah, I told him, Alasta anta zinat as-samawati wal-aradeen? Ya Rasulullah, I thought you are the light and ornament of this earth and the universe. Rasulullah says, he says, when I went for the Mi'raj, لما أسري بي إلى السماء, when I went for the Mi'raj, when I reached a position in which Jibreel could not follow me, could not remain with me. I reached a position in which Jibreel, who accompanied me, he told me I cannot pass this limit. There's a red line. Only you could pass. The Quran says, ثُمَّ دَنَا فَتَدَلَّى فَكَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ أَوْ أَدْنَى. Rasulullah went, he kept on getting higher until he reached the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The throne of Allah. Allah has a throne. Not a throne that he sits on, but Allah has a throne. Rasulullah says, فَرَأَيْتُ مَكْتُوبًا عَلَى يَمِينِ الْعَرْشِ أَنَّ الْحُسَيْنِ مِصْبَاحَ الْهُدَى وَسَفِينَةُ النَّجَاةِ. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He said, Rasulullah says that I saw written on the throne of Allah that Hussein is the ark of salvation and the lantern of guidance. Rasulullah was telling his companions this over and over again. He would say, Husaynun minni wa ana min Hussein. Ahabba Allah man ahabba Husayna. Hussein is from me and I am from him. He was telling them this. Yet they gave a blind eye and deaf ears to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What did they do to Rasulullah? What did they do to Ya Rasulullah, law ayantahum wa humu ma bayna qatlin wa siba la ra'at aynaka minhum manzaran lil hasha shajwan wa lil ayni qadha. Al-Sharif al-Radhi, you know Al-Sharif al-Radhi, the author of Nahj al-Balagha, the one who compiled Nahj al-Balagha. Al-Sharif al-Radhi lived in Baghdad. He lived in Baghdad. And he never visited Karbala. He never came to the ziyarah of Imam Hussein. Until he became an old man. He lived in Baghdad. Baghdad is 100 kilometers away from Karbala. 100 and something. 110 kilometers from Karbala. Al-Sharif al-Radhi, the one who compiled Nahj al-Balagha, would refuse to come to Karbala. No one knew why. No one knew why. Until he decided to come. And he was an old man. He came to Karbala. When he saw the palm trees of Karbala, when he came close, he started running. He started running to the shrine of Imam Hussein, and he began to recite this verses of poetry. Karbala la zilti karban wa bala ma laqi indaki alul Mustafa. Karbala, you still remain a city of tragedy. What happened to the family of Rasulullah on your land? Until he reached this. Ya Rasulullah, ya khayr al-wara, ya Rasulullah, law ayantahum wa humu ma bayna qatlin wa siba. Ya Rasulullah, if you were alive in Karbala, what would you do? You would see your grandchildren scattered all over the place. لَرَأَتْ عَيْنَاكَ مِنْهُمْ مَنْظَرًا. The scene that you would have seen, it would have broken your heart, Ya Rasulullah. Sharif al-Radhi kept on jogging, kept on running, until he reached the shrine of Imam Hussein. He threw himself on the grave of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. When they lifted him, he was dead. Then they realized why he never visited Karbala. Because he knew if he were to go to Karbala, he would die. And he died in Karbala. What happened in Karbala? What happened on this day? What did they do to the progeny of Rasulullah? If Jesus Christ had a grandson, Christians would have worshipped him. Christians would have put him on their heads, and they would have loved him and honored him and his family members. If Musa had a grandson, Jews would have done the same. Yet what did we do to the grandson of Rasulullah? What did this nation do to the grandson of their prophet? And Rasulullah, all he asked, he served this nation for 24 years. 24 years, sincerely. He served this nation. He asked for one thing in return. وَلَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. I ask for nothing in return to show love and kindness to my family members. We saw the love and kindness that his nation showed to his family members. They beheaded his beloved Hussein. They trampled his body with horses. On a night like this, Karbala is dark, because the glowing face of Imam Hussein is no longer in Karbala. The orphans are scattered around, not knowing where to go. They would come to Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam asking, Amma, where's my father? Where's my brother? Where's our uncle? They're little children. Little children don't understand. What would they understand about death? What is Sayyidah Zainab supposed to tell these little children? that they killed your fathers? Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam had to gather the women and the children all in one place. On this afternoon, on the afternoon of Ashura, Umar ibn Sa'd decided to give water to the children. His heart was broken. He decided to give water to the children, so he ordered his troops and army to bring water to the children. They came close to the camp of Imam Hussein. They brought water. They called the children, come and drink water. They saw that none of the children approached the water. None of them took the water. None. They started begging them, come, drink water. You will die from thirst. They said, no, we will not drink water. كيف نشرب الماء وقد قتلتم أبانا عطشانا. How do you want us to drink water when you killed our fathers thirsty? None of them took the water. Hamid ibn Muslim says that only one young girl took the water, took a cup of water. Everyone was astonished that she's the only one that took the cup of water. He says, but when she took the water, she didn't drink. Instead, she came into the battlefield. She entered into the battlefield. We all came after her. We want to see what is she going to do. She came into the battlefield. She started looking at the dead bodies. No, it's not this body. It's not this body. She kept on searching for a specific body. Finally, she found that body. She sat down. Aba ya Aba Abdullah, qum washrab al-ma. Aba Abdullah, qataluka atshana. Hada al-ma. Qum washrab al-ma. My dear father, they killed you thirsty. Now they brought us water. Get up and drink, my father. On a day like this, as Sayyidah Zainab alayha salam, she came to the body of Aba Abdullah. That headless body, that stripped body. They stripped him of his armor. Imam Hussein was lying in the plain of Karbala naked, without his armor. Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, she came to his body, that headless body. She put her hands under the body of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. She raised her hand and she said, Allahumma anna hadha al-Hussein farkhu nabiyyika Muhammad, Allahumma taqabbalahu biqabulin hasan. Oh Allah, this is Hussein, the grandson of your Prophet Muhammad. Accept our sacrifice. Accept the sacrifice of Rasulullah from us. Inna hadha al-Hussein qurbanu nabiyyika Muhammad. He is the sacrifice of your Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam would gather the women and children. She gathered all of the women and children. She would count all of them, but she saw that there's a woman missing. Who is this woman? They counted again. They saw that all of the women are present except one. One woman is missing. That woman was Rabab, the wife of Imam Hussein, the mother of Abdullah al-Radi'. Where is Rabab? Sayyidah Zainab started looking for her in this tent, in that tent. Rabab was missing. She was not in the battlefield. She was nowhere to be found. Then Sayyidah Zainab remembered where Rabab could be. She went behind the tent, next to the grave of Abdullah al-Radi', that small grave where Imam Hussein had dug for him. She saw Rabab sitting next to the grave of her son, telling him, Abdullah, you died thirsty. I wasn't able to breastfeed you. Now I have milk. Get up, my son. Let me breastfeed you now. This was Rabab. Each one was mourning her son. Layla was mourning Ali al-Akbar. Ramla was mourning Al-Qasim. Al-Rabab was mourning Abdullah, and Sayyidah Zainab was mourning all of them. How many losses did she have? She lost her brothers, her nephews, her sons. On a day like this, Umar bin Sa'd ordered his soldiers to burn down the tents. He came and he said, احرقوا بيوت الظالمين. Burn down their tents. They started burning the tents one after the other. The children started screaming and shouting, not knowing where to go. They were scared. They were frightened. They don't have a protector. Al-Abbas is no longer there to protect them. They all gathered in the tent of Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam. Their only solace is to be with Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam. Hamid ibn Muslim says that I saw a child, a young girl. She had left the tent of Imam Hussein running. She doesn't know where to go. She was on fire because of the burning tent. He said, I grabbed her, I put off the fire. She was crying. She thought that I will harm her. He told her, I will not harm you. Where do you wish to go? Is there anything that I could do for you? She said, yes, take me to Najaf. He said, Najaf? He said, yes. She said, yes, take me to Najaf. Our grandfather, Amir al-Mu'mineen, is there. I want to go and I'd like to complain. I want to complain to our grandfather. He said, Najaf is far. It's far. Is there anywhere else I'd like to take you? Is there anywhere else you'd like me to take you? She said, yes, take me to the river. To the river of Euphrates. There's a person lying there. There's a person sleeping on the river. I'd like to see him. He took her to the river. She went and she sat down. She sat down next to that champion, Abbas. أبا الفضل العباس قم وشاهد ما يصنع بنا الأعداء. My uncle Abbas, get up and see what they're doing to us. On a night like this, Umar bin Sa'ad, he cut off all of the heads. All of the heads, one by one, starting with the head of Imam Hussein. He cut his head, the head of Abu al-Fadl, the head of Ali al-Akbar, the head of Al-Qasim. They put them on spears. Even the head of Abdullah al-Radi', they cut off his head and they put it on a spear. On a night like this, Umar bin Sa'ad ordered his army to trample the chest of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein's chest was trampled twice by the horses. One while he was alive, before he was killed. The horses stepped on his chest and they broke his ribs. And another time after his death, they stepped on his chest with their horses. As-Sayyid Haydar al-Hilli in his poem, he says, حيث الحسين حيث الخيل صدر العدا طعنت ضلوعه. The horses of the enemy soldiers, they trampled the chest of Imam Hussein to the point that they made his ribs into powder. They broke all of his ribs. Sayyidah Zainab saw the broken ribs of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Umar bin Sa'ad took the head of Imam Hussein and he gave it to a man by the name of Khuwalla. And he said, go to Kufa tonight and let them give the head of Imam Hussein to Ibn Ziyad. Give him the good news that we cut off the head of Imam Hussein. Khuwalla comes to Kufa from Karbala in the middle of the night. He reaches Kufa. He goes to the governor's office, the governor's home, the home of Ibn Ziyad. They told him Ibn Ziyad is sleeping. Come the next day. Khuwalla comes home. He grabs the head of Imam Hussein and he enters his home. His wife tells him, where were you? And what have you brought? What is that in your hand? He told her, I brought you treasure. I brought you a great gift. She said, what? He said, I brought the head of Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. She told him, shame on you. Men, when they come back from journeys, they bring gold and silver to their wives. You bring me the head of the grandson of Rasulullah. Shame on you. Khuwalla grabbed the head of Imam Hussein and he put it in a corner of the house. And he went to sleep. His wife could not sleep that night. She could not sleep. She remained the entire night crying for the death of Imam Hussein. In the middle of the night, she saw a light beaming from the sky into her house, into the room that had the head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and she heard a voice saying something. The voice of a woman crying, the voice of a mother wailing. She heard carefully and she heard a voice saying, وَلَدِي قَتَلُوكِ وَلَدِي حُسَيْن قَتَلُوكِ وَمِنَ الْمَاءِ منعوك ولدي قتلوك وما عرفوك ومن شرب الماء منعوك. The mother was saying, the lady was saying, my son Hussein, they killed you and they did not know you, and from water they forbid you. This was the voice of his mother Fatima. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين.